welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about my favorite tools for makeup, brushes, sponges, cleaner, and like eyelash curlers. Yeah, there's a lot of variety from like really affordable to sort of kind of expensive. So I have quite a few. If I show a brush, I might have a dupe for that might be a more affordable brush. So yeah, let's get into it. So for eyes, I think one of the most important brushes are fluffy brushes, because especially if you're going to do a more dramatic look, a smoky eye, a lot of colors in the crease, then you want to make sure that you're blending out any harsh lines. If not, you're going to look like you have such a mess, and it's just not going to look like really nice and smooth and like gradient. So I'm really big on fluffy brushes. One of my favorite, like the most favorite brush to use when I'm doing an eye look is my Sigma E40, and this is a nice tapered blending brush. It's really fluffy and it's got black bristles, and it's just like the perfect fluffness to really blend out any harsh lines. And at first I didn't use an E40. I used to just use my MAC 217, and these differ where these are white bristles, and this brush is more tapered and kind of flat, and it is still fluffy, but this one is just like a fluffy all around dome, whereas this one is fluffy but it's also like flat. A cheaper dupe for the MAC 217 would be the Sigma E25. These are identical. They work exactly the same, and this one I believe is like almost half, if not, I think it's half the price of the MAC or a little bit more, but a much cheaper dupe than the MAC, and they both work exactly the same. So these are my picks for fluffy brushes. So yes, either you can have two of these guys and that works perfectly fine. Use one to put color and then use the other to blend, or you can have one E40 and one E25 217. So, or you can have two E40s and use it to put color in and then blend out. Sometimes I catch myself just using the E40, but I feel like I get a more concentrated color when I'm using an E25. So you definitely need these in your collection because they are staples and they are amazing, and I never do an eye look without both of them. So yeah, those are for fluffing. Those are for blending out colors and placing colors in the crease. So when it comes to placing colors on the lid, there's a variety of brushes that you can use. One of the most affordable would be an e.l.f. C brush. This brush is really great. The bristles, it's really nicely packed and dense, where it picks up a lot of color, and then it's the perfect size to place on the lid. It's not too big. e.l.f. is like really affordable. The Studio line is a great quality of brush, but yet still affordable at the same time. All of them are $3, and I absolutely love the e.l.f. C brush. I tend to use this sometimes over my more expensive shader brushes, but this is definitely a budget-friendly brush that everyone should have in their collection. Another affordable one would be the Real Techniques shading brush. This one I believe is about $6 to $7, so a little bit more expensive than the e.l.f., but it's also different. This one is more of a dupe for the MAC 239. So this one is really flat, and it's a little bit more narrow than the C brush, and that's why it's more of a dupe for the MAC 239. This one is the first MAC brush that I ever purchased, and it was such a great purchase. I am obsessed with my MAC 239. It's very expensive. I believe it's like $30 or maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but around that price. And for one shadow brush, it's really expensive, but the quality of this brush is just like no other. It is great to wet with some Fix Plus and plot some really nice foiled eyeshadows on the lid. I absolutely love this brush, and I only have one. I want to go out and buy more, but I can't bring myself to purchase another eyeshadow brush for just $30. So instead, you can buy the Real Techniques shader brush. It's a little more flimsy than the MAC 239, but it packs on color just as nicely. The only difference between these two brushes is that these are synthetic hairs and these are not. So this one is really good with creams and powders and everything. So that's the only difference between these two, but I love both of them. this one is much more cheaper. Or much cheaper. This one is much cheaper than the MAC. So if you can't get the MAC and you're on a budget, then definitely grab the Real Techniques shader brush. When it comes to the lower lash line, I like to use a small smudger brush to place the color really close to the lash line. And my favorite for that is the Sigma E21. It's the perfect size. It gets really close to the lash line and it deposits the right amount of color. And it's thin enough at the edge where it doesn't make such a huge line underneath. Some people like that, some people don't. But this one you can do a really thin line or you can do a thicker line. So that's why I love this brush. A more affordable brush for that is the Real Techniques accent brush. This is like exactly the same. They're the same size. The bristles they're the same shape. It's just the Real Techniques brush is synthetic hairs and it's much cheaper, which is a huge deal. And but this one does come in a set, so it's not separate from all the other brushes. So this one is like $18 with a set of about 5 brushes, I believe. So it comes to about close to the same price as the Sigma brush, but you are getting 4 other brushes with this one, so it is cheaper. So these 2 brushes are great if you like to smoke out your lower lash line and put color really close to the lash line right there. So definitely, if you can't pick up the Sigma, which is probably around like $14 to $16, then definitely check out the Real Techniques version. Speaking of the lower lash line, after I put some color really close to the lower lash line, I like to smudge it out with a pencil brush, and I love the Sigma E30 brush. I have a little miniature size version of this brush from MAC, but I always grab my Sigma one. This brush is fluffy enough and soft enough where you can really blend out any harsh line on the bottom lash line without irritating your skin there, because it is very delicate skin that you're dealing with in the lower lash line, and this one just blends it out really smoothly and fast without irritating that and like really rubbing the heck out of your skin. So really good, and it's really pointy at the end, so you can also use that to place some color underneath too. When it comes to eyeliner, I like a lot of liquid liners, but if I'm going to use gel or cream eyeliner, I like to use a pointy brush, and the one that I love is from Sigma, and it's the E.l.f. It's a little dirty because I used it today, but it tapers to a really fine point, and I like that to have control of my eyeliner to get a really sharp line. So this one is really great. If you're on a budget, then you want to check out the Real Techniques fine liner brush. This one is sold separately, so it's about $6 to $8 maybe. Really cheap, really affordable, and it's really great too. It doesn't come to a point exactly like the Sigma does, so it's not an exact dupe, but it's pointy enough and it tapers just enough so where you still have control and you can still do a nice sharp line, and it's much cheaper. A versatile brush that I love is a nice angled brush. An angled brush is really great when it comes to brows, and it's also great if you want to use that for your eyeliner. A lot of people tend to go for a angled brush over a pointy brush, and the brush that I love is the MAC 266. This brush I've used it for everything. I've used it for my brows, I've used it to do a little bit of powder eyeliner, and I've used it for cream eyeliner. This brush is great. I don't have a dupe for it because I haven't tried a version of this from Sigma, but I'm sure that they have a dupe that's much cheaper than this brush, but it's really good, and I love my MAC 266. When it comes to concealer, I love to use my Beauty Blender, but if I want to grab a brush to blend out my concealers, I have 3 choices. I have the Sigma P84. This is a nice angled synthetic brush that gets really right into that crevice right there. It blends out really nicely and evenly, and it gets into all the little crevices, and I haven't found a angled like little kabuki brush like that from the drugstore. But what I do have for the drugstore is this Real Techniques Deluxe Crease brush. This is sold in a set as well. I can't remember off the top of my head if it's sold with the detailer brush, but I know it is sold in a set. So this one is nice, round, and fluffy, and it buffs out concealer so nicely. It's a perfect size as well to get underneath there, and it really blends out concealer perfectly without picking up too much of the product. So great brush, and it's $18.99 in a set of about 5 brushes. I believe it comes in the the eye kit. So great brush, and you get this one and the detailer brush that I mentioned a second ago. So really good. I love the bristles, and they're so soft. The Real Technique brushes, if you've never tried them, what rock have you been under? But if you haven't, then you need to check them out because they're super soft. Like, I could just sit here all day just doing that. It's so good. It's so nice. Okay, going on. Another tool for the eyes. This isn't much of a brush, but it is a tool, and it's this Lash Brow Groomer from Real Techniques. It has a bristle end right there that I use to comb out my brows, and then it has this wire side that I use whenever I put on some mascara, and if I see that the mascara has clumped, I will go over the top lashes and flick up to remove any clumps, and then if I have some clumps in the bottom lashes, I go underneath the lash and I flick up to remove any clumps, and it doesn't like fall down on your cheek or anything. So love this guy. It comes in that kit, I believe, as well, the eye starter kit for Real Techniques. So again, that kit is amazing. I love almost all of the brushes in that kit. So I always need to curl my lashes. I curl my lashes every single time I do my makeup without fail, unless I'm doing it on the go and I forget my eyelash curler. But I am obsessed with my Uemura, probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but my Uemura eyelash curler. This is an expensive eyelash curler. It's about 20 something bucks, but I love it. It curls so nicely. It doesn't crimp the lash or it doesn't bend the lash. It does a nice curl and lifts the lash up and it holds it. Aside from when you use like a heavy mascara that weighs it down, this eyelash curler really curls and holds the curl all day, and I love it. It's pricey, but it's so worth it. If you want something more affordable, I have the e.l.f. eyelash curler. I found this at the Dollar Tree. It was $1, and it works not as well as the Uemura eyelash curler, but it works really well too. It doesn't bend the lashes. It curls them nicely. It does a really good job, and it was only $1. And yeah, if it does the job for $1, like, yeah, definitely pick it up. Because if I didn't have that one, I would be using this every single day, which I still use this. Sometimes I'll grab this over the other one, but they're both great. I love my Beauty Blender. My Beauty Blender is like, oh, I got an itch. My Beauty Blender is my best friend. I love this guy. It's a little dirty, as you can see. I love him a lot. It's so great. It's $20 for a sponge, but it's worth it. I love it so much. I do like the Real Techniques version of this as well. I just haven't picked up a new one. So if you don't want to get the Beauty Blender, you can definitely check out the Real Techniques sponge. It's not an exact dupe, but it does the job like this guy does as well. And it's only like $6-7 versus 20. But I love my Beauty Blender. It's great for blending out foundation where it doesn't like cake on your face, because it does suck up any excess foundation. And it's also great for concealer. If I'm not going to use a brush, I will be using my Beauty Blender, and it cleans really nicely with the Beauty Blender Solid. I washed my brushes and I washed my sponges with this guy right here. If you haven't watched my how I clean my brushes video, then I'll link that down below. But I show you how I clean my brushes and this guy with this guy. Yeah. Check it out. I can already tell that this video is super long, just talking about the eye brushes that I love. So I'm going to make this video a two-part video, and this is going to be part 1, which I talk about all the eye brushes that I love, and then part 2, which will come on Wednesday, will be all about face brushes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already so that you stay tuned for part 2. And if you missed any of my videos, I have 2 of them linked right there for you to go watch. It'll open up a new video and you can watch it right after this one. So yeah guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!